Okay, so hi everyone. Thank you for joining us for this session. We really apologize for the delay. I don't know, I just feel that this whole chaos in the morning has reminded me that we need to build our internet infrastructure in Africa. So maybe that's a challenge to us. I'll not speak for long. I just want to invite Satish to take us through his presentation because he has other events to attend. And Satish, we really apologize for the delay, and we are thankful that you created time to take us through this session. So over to you, Satish.
Thanks,
yeah, go for
Sarah.
it.
Thanks. I hope you can see me, hear me, and see my presentation also.
Yes, please.
Okay. Greetings from India, where we are having the global celebration of the UA Day. And I hope to be able to take you through a brief presentation. Since we are running late, we'll try to shorten it. So I'd like to speak about what is this universal acceptance? Why is it there? And what are we doing to kind of eliminate it? The foundation of this is the fact that not everybody speaks the Western languages, like especially English. Not everybody can read and write the Latin script, which is what is used for English and Spanish and French and all that. So as we talk about digital inclusion, we have to find out some mechanism whereby everybody have equal rights on the internet, that they can use their script, their language, and not just be forced to use English script or Latin script, as we call it. Now, the internet has been evolving. And when we started early on in the 90s, we had started talking about domain names. So the initial domain names were all basically 3 letters at the top level: .com, .org, edu, gov, etc. And many of the first generation software for handling online resources like URLs and emails, they started off with using this assumption that GTLDs, the global top level domains, will be 3 letters, and the CCTLDs, the country code names, will be 2 letters. Now, that assumption was very useful during the initial days of the internet. But then the domain name system is not operating based on any international standard. Basically, the DNS is what ICANN kind of develops policy on. Initially, there was only these 3-letter DNSs. But later, the community said, why don't we have longer English script only, but longer names like .photography, etc., .museum. So that was the first example when the original assumption of 3 letters for a domain name top level started going wrong. Because many software writers at that time, the first generation of these applications, they hard-coded the assumption into their software that top-level domain names will be only 3 letters. Now, in 2012, ICANN started the new GTLD round, wherein there was no restriction on the length. There is actually a restriction, that's a technical restriction, about 64 characters for a label. But practically, it meant that it could be we could apply for any kind of length of the domain name. Now, when that process, the GTLD round opened up and people started buying these GTLDs, then many of the software written for this 3-letter assumption, they stopped working. So if you had .photography and you brought a second level thing called my.photography, then that wouldn't resolve. So when you type into the browser, it will give an error. And if you made an email out of it, like satish@my.photography, that email wouldn't work on most of the mailing systems. So this is a core problem of universal acceptance. But something else also happened in 2010 and 2012. In 2010, there was for many years, many countries were saying that we need CCTLDs in our language, in our script. So in 2010, it was first possible for CCTLDs to have their own country names or regional names in their own script, which meant non-Latin, non-English script. Now, this also was a problem because most of the mailing systems from the first generation would not recognize these, because when you talk about different script, the underlying technical layer is called Unicode. Unicode was first developed to represent any script. Initially, it was any existing script, like there are so many scripts. You'll see some maps later. So Unicode then later on developed, and now it is, I think, version 14 or 15 or something like that. They have more than 100,000 scripts in different languages. Some of them are artificial languages. Most of them are natural languages. But there is a space for any script, or any script that are currently being used. Some of the extinct scripts are also contained in it. The objective of Unicode is to represent any text that is available today. Maybe the language is dead now, but the script is alive in a library. There's a book there. And then the Unicode says, in that case, we will give you the Unicode for representing or encoding that book. So that way, Unicode is very inclusive. And Unicode is at the base of internationalized domain names. Suppose I want a domain name in my, India has so many languages, and if I want some domain names in my script, Unicode provides that support. So let me advance in my presentation. So we are living in so this is the basic context. The evolution of the internet has caused some problems in the way the domain name system works, and also emails work. That makes it very different for English domain names and email IDs and non-English. So they are not at par. They are not equivalent. So there is a disadvantage for non-English domain names and email IDs. And universal acceptance tries to fix that problem. So here we see that there are so many languages that are there. And English is only 57% of the total content available, and it is decreasing all the time. The current number of people who are accessing the internet is basically from the part of the world. Huge numbers of people who are not on the internet today are from the global south, and gradually they will start also coming forward and joining the internet. But then they may not speak English, or they may not write and read in English. So we will need to accommodate them for digital inclusion so that everybody has equal rights on the internet. So we know what the domain name system is. A domain name system is a naming system for the internet. It makes it easier for human beings, because human beings don't remember numbers. So we remember names. So these names can point to resources like websites or images, videos, etc. Now, for every domain name, normally there is also now this is a domain name, and internally it resolves to an IP address. Now, we don't do anything to make it happen. When you install the computer, we do certain things, but once it is done, it is automatic. So if you type Wikipedia into your browser, automatically the browser will convert it to this number and then starts communicating with it. So between the domain names and the IP address and the domain name system, it makes it far easier for human beings to use the internet. And it is this organization called ICANN, which we'll be referring to quite a bit. This is the organization that manages and creates policy to coordinate and support the evolving system of unique identifiers, names, numbers, and little more than that. But for us, names and numbers are the core things. And the ICANN's mission is to create a stable, secure, and unified global internet, not a fragmented internet that excludes some language speakers, etc. We want a single, stable, unified global internet. So for ICANN, it's important to have inclusion. So here are the how domain names work. So here we have www.example.org or .io. These, whatever comes between these dots are called labels. So example is a label. What you have in the beginning is called the protocol identifier. And what you have in the end is called the GTLD or the CCTLD. So GTLD is at least 3 letters. It can be more than that. CCTLD is at least 2 letters. And both can be now any language, any script. And some of those, like, for example, the word for India in Indian languages. So we have a list of, we'll see that later, that we have these different, a number of such CCTLDs. And if you took a email, the email has on the right hand side, this looks like the domain name itself. So GTLD, and then we have the second level label. But this part and this @ symbol, the @ symbol basically identifies an email ID that we're looking at it, we can make out it's an email ID. What is to the left of the @ is called the mailbox. Now remember, when I say left, we have to look at the way languages are written. English is written from left to right, but Arabic is written from right to left. So in Arabic, an email ID will look differently. This mailbox will come to the right side, and the other things will come to the left side. So when you say on the left of the @ symbol, it doesn't really make sense in all cases. We have to be cautious about that part. So like I said, originally the TLDs were 3 letters, and they were made of English or Latin characters. But from 2012 onwards, we have had newer and longer GTLDs. There are now over 1,200 GTLDs, like .photography, .london. These are longer, even though they're English, but they are longer. But apart from English, we also have the internationalized domain names, IDNs, which allow for domain names in other scripts. So these are Arabic and Chinese. Other labels within a domain name can also be internationalized. That means second level, you have a .com, the top level, but second level can be in any other script today. It's already available. And ICANN is now moving towards the second new round. And everything is, the whole organization is working towards that, which is a very heavyweight kind of a process. And one of the things they have to sort out is how to manage these internationalized domain names and the issue of universal acceptance. So basically what is important is to realize that we have both longer names and we have also multiple scripts from 2012 onwards. And for CCTLDs from 2010, we have had 2009-10 period, we have had other scripts. Both these create problems for some of the existing software. Now, today, a lot of progress has happened. Much of the software can now handle URLs, but many software cannot handle email IDs, which have these kind of internationalized domain names. Initially, email addresses are also not available in all languages and scripts. But today, we have something called Email Address Internationalization, EAI, which is trying to sort this out. And internationalized email addresses are not related to the text in the body, the content of the email. That content of the email is managed by MIME, and we can already put any content in any script that we want into the body of the message. Here we are talking only about the address, which is at the top of the message. That still has many problems. So we're not talking about content, which is content is managed by MIME. Right. So why do we need IDNs? Because networks connect people. Networks do not just connect machines. And people speak different languages. So you can see here in the case of the place where I'm sitting, there are so many different scripts here. And we have to be inclusive. And the government of India cannot say that, look, we'll only support English or Hindi or one or two. But you can also see that the diversity of the linguistic diversity is much higher in Asia Pacific than if you look at North America and South America, there is hardly any diversity. Africa does have some diversity because a lot of Arabic speaking, and also you hear Coptic, and you have, we have some, this is, I think, Ethiopian, the script. Ethiopic, yeah. So this is the reason why we want IDNs, because people around the world speak in different languages, and if we want to bring all of them onto the single internet, we have to ensure that they are able to use the internet and the domain name system. So these are the IDN CCTLDs. You can see in multiple scripts. In the case of India, we have so many. because we have so many different languages, and this word in all this full stack is just saying India in different scripts. So, so in some countries you have this higher diversity. So there are 62 CCTLDs for 43 countries. So some countries have extra, that's why. This is IDN generic top-level names. There are 91 IDN GTLDs already delegated from 2012. Here are some examples of different. So you can see that this is a top-level domain. In English, it would be .am, Armenia. So similarly, we have Korean, and this big-looking thing is from India. It is actually my mother tongue. It's called Malayalam. So you can see the challenges. Sometimes we can't even understand what we're talking about. If you look at an English email ID, you can say, okay, this says robert@google.com or something like that. So you can see, okay, somebody called Robert, presumably. Of course, we can't be sure. But if you look at the IDN-based email, we may not be even able to understand what this is actually about. And if you look at the examples of emails, so now this is all regular. The @ is coming. This one is the mailbox. This one, the other side is the domain. But in the case of Arabic, this is a mailbox, and this is the domain name part. So because there is an @ we can make out that this is an email, but we have to be careful while parsing it. For some script, it is left to right, other script is right to left. But these are all valid internationalized emails. So all these should work equally well in any system. Suppose we go to Wikipedia and you want to register yourself, you get an account. If you try any of this, they will all fail. You will not be able to register an account for yourself using the internationalized email IDs today. Now, this is an example of the UA gap, universal acceptance gap. So basically, universal acceptance is an effort to bring equality, so as to get to digital inclusion. And the idea is that all URLs, irrespective of the script, all email IDs, irrespective of the scripts used. There's one other thing that I should mention, which is that the email part and the domain part can be different scripts. For example, the email part can be in English and the domain part in Devanagari. That is valid. This email, the mailbox name itself is a policy at the registry level. It is not ICANN that decides it. So this can actually be, in all these cases here, they are both sides to the left of the @ and to the right the same script, but it doesn't have to be so. So one of the things that happens, suppose you're running a website, and that website has a newsletter, and you want everybody to subscribe to the newsletter. What happens if you, the email ID for subscription, it says join our mailing list. So what happens if you type an IDN-based email ID? It says, please enter a valid email ID. So basically, this site has rejected this otherwise valid email ID because the site is not aware of these kind of characters for an email. So there is a problem in accepting itself. It's not able to accept it. So what does UA want? UA wants that all domain names and email addresses work in all software applications exactly the same way. Impact. By making this work like this, it promotes consumer choice, improves competition, and provides broader access to end users. In other words, digital inclusion. Why does it matter? Because it supports, UA will help us to kind of provide a space on the internet for every different culture, every different script. So it supports a diverse and multilingual internet. The diversity is very important, of course. Enable greater competition, innovation, consumer choice, create business opportunities, offer career advantages for developers and system administrators, and assist governments and policymakers to reach their citizens. So I'm not going to get into the full details here, but we have around 5 billion users today, and more are coming in. Another 500 million will join this year. And the majority of the new people who are coming online do not speak English. And there are so many other scripts. And by being UA ready, we can basically ensure that everybody is aspirations to be there on the internet is met. Now, what does it mean by saying making applications UA ready? So in the earlier email, we saw that the website is not accepting the mail. It is also basically trying to validate. So now, how does validation happen today? There are some standards. Like if you are writing an HTML form, you will say, the type is equal to email. Then the problem then is that there is an existing standard which does not cover IDNs. So that validation will fail if you enter an IDN-based email. But basically, what we want a good website to do is to accept, validate, process, store, and display. Sometimes it can do 4 of these, but it cannot display for whatever reasons, because you have right to left, left to right, different scripts. What if the scripts are not installed on your computer? So there are many challenges like this, but the completeness of universal acceptance will come only when all this can happen successfully. And that is what we're trying for. Now, some of this, most of it is about code. Somebody has to write the code that will help us to achieve this. And that is where we are today. So I can recognize this problem only in around 2010 or so. And in 2015, they created something called UASG, Universal Acceptance Steering Group. And ICANN promotes UA and financially supports UASG. And UASG then tries to resolve these problems. So raising awareness. UA Day is all about raising awareness among all communities. Then detailed studies to identify technical gaps. So what are the problem areas? Solutions for these technical gaps. And sometimes you have to persuade the owner of the website. How do you do that? You submit bug reports in their system so that you tell them, look, there's a bug in your computer, in your website. And by conducting technical training, part of the UA Day is about technical training also. So these are what we are trying to really do. So depending on who we are, we have a role in UA. For businesses, UASG had done a study, and they have found that IDNs and EAI and internationalized emails, there is a huge business opportunity there. So a good business will be a business that provides support for universal acceptance, which means, if you're inviting people to subscribe, all emails are accepted for subscription. So they have to do some work internally. They have to first assess. They have to assess the business systems, then update them. Now, when you say update, that means you basically have to write code. You have to change existing code. Now, changing code of a working system makes programmers very nervous. It's one of the programmer attributes that if it's working, we don't want to kind of play around with it. Because if you make a change, you don't know what is going to blow up where. So, but having said that, if you want to kind of be universal acceptance ready, then you have to update and you have to do the coding. So you have to plan it and then do it. Then you have to also ensure that collaborators. Now, email has got a very strange problem that suppose you are creating an email, a web mail system, and you have made it 100% UA ready. However, you have a problem that your email has to go to another SMTP server and be received there. And if that server does not support UA, then all your efforts are useless because you can't basically send that email. You are ready with everything. You've done the code, you've done the work. But if the other part of the receiver of that email does not support universal acceptance, you have a problem there. And of course, building UA awareness with partner organizations and companies. This is what we're trying to do in the UA Day also. We are trying to rally around all stakeholders. If you're the government, then of course, the governments have to create policy. That policy has to, we are recommending that the government policy should include UA requirements. So anytime the government spends some money on acquiring software, government should ensure that that software is UA ready. So governments have a very kind of major role to ensure that they push. And civil society, what are we supposed to do? So we have to first build awareness in our community as to what is UA, why is it important? So that's why, what you are doing now in Uganda is important for the community that you represent, so that they're aware of what is the need and why is it better that we have universal acceptance, promote research on inclusion, create linkages and partner organizations, also work with language communities, language and script communities, to ensure, because there is a demand side aspect to this. We can all the time we can tell the tech companies that please change your code and make it ready. But if there's no demand from the end user or the language community, the technical company is going to ask you, who's going to use my system? Who's going to pay for it? So it's very important that the demand side is articulated. And that's also partly a civil society role. And academia, because you are a place where a lot of students are there, you have to be an exemplar, which means you have to show an example by ensuring that you upgrade your email systems. There are already systems available that you can buy, and you can ensure that we may still have problems because, like I said earlier, the other receiving side, if they don't have a compatible system, then you still have a problem. But it is still important that you tell people about how successfully you have migrated. You can also train faculty and students. You can update your IT curriculum to include internationalization. And you can create awareness in the local technical community. The technical community has to actually do the mitigation or the remediation, which means they have to write the code that will actually do this work. So there are various ways to, so we, like, for example, the UASG has a working group called UA Tech Working Group. I am the chair of that working group since its inception. And what we're trying to do is to, as one of the many things that we do, create samples, free software samples of working code, just to demonstrate in different languages, to demonstrate programmers as to how they can achieve universal acceptance. So the technical community members can borrow that code, download it, and then use it. So for registries, registrar, there are some technical things that they can do, because there is already a report that is published by UASG. What should a registry and registrar do to achieve this? It is somewhat technical. If you're a registrant or a domain holder, especially if you have a IDN-based domain name, you have to ask your service provider that they should be UA ready, so that you have to activate. You would like to activate your IDN-based domain name. Excuse me. So what is happening in IDN, in ICANN around these things? So we have the UA community, UASG community, which is now the first UA day is happening today, tomorrow. We have, so the UA community has been working for the last, from 2015, so 8 years now, to ensuring that the gaps are kind of gradually closed. At least we are in the right direction. CCTLEs have to ensure that the support is there. GTLEs, yes. Currently, there are some, what shall I say, impediments for GTLEs. And one very thorny issue is called IDN variants. Now, it is difficult to communicate what a IDN variant is, because in English, that problem does not exist. But suppose we had the word Quebec, which is part of Canada. It is written by, in English, it's written Quebec, but the Quebec is a French-speaking area. The way they write is QU and an E with a stroke, an accent over it, and then BEC. So actually, what I'm saying is only a hypothetical thing. It is not actually a problem for French and English. The way things are currently, kind of described in technical terms. But suppose somebody says, look, these are actually equivalent. Whether you write E with an accent or without an accent, they should work is exactly the same, because we are referring to the same thing. Now, unfortunately, the DNS system has no, they would be then called variants, because both of them, the language community that they represent, would consider that both these are the same. But unfortunately, the domain name system has no current policy on how to kind of tie two labels together in a way that, they move together, or they are considered equivalent. So that's a problem when we're trying to sort it through what is called the EPDP. And we also have language communities hundreds of volunteers from different script communities who came together to form what is known as the label generation rules. It is a kind of technical thing to get into, so I'm not going to get into that. So if you're interested in universal acceptance, you should go to the usg.tech site. There is a bunch of documents there. There are several working groups that you can join. And you have a document hub, which has got all the documents that USG has been working on. So if you're interested, you can join the working groups. You can click on this link. You can go to the site and you can click on the link. You can also follow us on Twitter and all that. You can also engage with ICANN through the fellowship and NextGen programs. So fellowship is for every ICANN event. Every ICANN event. The next one is 77 and 78, I think, is in Europe. So a bunch of people from the world, all over the world, they apply and they get selected, and they are given an opportunity to come to the ICANN meeting. NextGen is just like this, but for a particular region only. Now, if the next one is in Washington, DC, then only people from North America can apply for NextGen. Fellowship, anybody can apply, but NextGen is only for that region. So that's the last of my slides. So if anybody has any questions, you can raise it, and I'll be happy to spend some time.
Thank you so much, Satish, for the presentation. I think we have a few questions in the room, but I'll hand over to Innocent because he can see what's happening on the ground. So Innocent, over to you to help with the Q&A. Or anyone else. I think I saw Jimmy.
Okay.
Sarah. Is there anyone who has a question in the room? Questions, please. Remember, this is the introductory session, so if you don't understand this, it will be so hard for you to go on with the rest of the session. So it's better you ask questions about any of the. Yes. So we have a question from the room. Kindly mention your name and where you're from, and you can ask your question. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Frank Blessed Mutamba, and I'm from Makerere University, and I'm part of the Internet Society Uganda chapter. So my question is that, I'm sorry for coming in late, but I had something like the ICANN Fellowship. I'm requesting to know more about the ICANN Fellowship, and when is it open, when is it closed, and just more about it. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much,
Frank. Thank you, Frank.
Yeah, so I think the right person to answer this is Sarah.
Sarah, can we take that? Okay, is there any other question here? Yes, no? Okay, Sarah, I think we can take that.
Okay, so the ICANN Fellowship basically was developed to give support to people from different parts of the world to be able to attend the ICANN meeting. So I think Satish has already mentioned that there are 3 meetings in a year, which you can apply for. So you can apply for the ICANN Fellowship, and then if you get selected, you have an opportunity to attend an ICANN meeting. And if you are a member of the ISOC Uganda chapter, we usually try to post the call for fellowship. There's an echo. We try to post the link on the chat, and the current one is actually active. So I'll request maybe someone on the team to share the link with you so that you can apply. So I hope that's enough information, but if Satish wants to add anything, you can go ahead.
Just to mention that it is an incredible opportunity that an ICANN Fellowship will provide you with, because it opens up. I mean, ICANN meetings are not easy. That's why ICANN Fellowships are open, I think, for three separate terms. because you might have to revisit ICANN to understand what is really going on. So it's a very great opportunity, and it's very competitive, so not easy at all. So you can get some guidance from your like people like Sarah, who can be your help in how to compose an application in a convincing fashion, etc. But I would suggest that everybody takes tries to kind of apply for different fellowships, next gen as well as ICANN, and there are also other fellowships from different organizations in internet governance, and I'm sure ISOC can help you with more information on that.
All right, thank you very much.
So, able to give you more about some of the fellowship programs and the Credit Society. And one thing I should say is I think the website are quite a resource because they have details of every fellowship that you'll ever find and the details of when they actually open. And in the room, for example, we have colleagues who have ever been part of these fellowships. You can interact with them during break time. Alan there, an ICANN fellow. Jesse has been an ISOC youth ambassador. So you can interact with them during the break and understand in their personal perspectives how the programs were. Hakim here is training for this year. We wish him the best. So yeah, I think that's it. Is there any question from the Zoom side, remote participants? Is there any question? Or to Mr. Satish, you can go ahead. Yeah.
Thanks very much and all the best. Bye for now.
Sarah, can you hear me?
It had gone off for a bit. It's back now. So yeah. It's off again.
Okay. Sarah, can you now hear me?
Yes, please.
Sarah, once again, can you hear me?
Yes, it's on and off. I don't know what's causing the problem, but yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, there's a bit of an echo, but I think we'll just work through it. So I wanted to actually say something. Satish has gone offline now, but I wanted to say something to the people in the room. I think most of the people who have attended this event are students, and when Satish was going through the slides, I just realized that the ICANN ecosystem is a bit technical. Well, not a bit technical, it's really, really technical. So you hear things like CCTLD, and he kept, mentioning DNS and many other things that you may find very complicated for you. So And someone just asked about the fellowship. One thing if you are interested in this world and you're interested in getting to know how to get involved and to participate and to contribute to policy, you actually have to start getting used to these words. And if someone mentions something like CCTLD and you don't know what it is, just write it down and I don't know, do your research or ask us. And there's something they usually tell us in the fellowship program. I think Innocent and Alan have heard it before, that there's no stupid question. So if the speakers say something and you think you don't know what it is, just please ask them. Like, just say, you mentioned CCTLD, I have no clue what that is. The people in the community are usually very welcoming. They are very, they're just very friendly and very happy to share their knowledge. So I request you to, like, just please ask as many questions as you can. The event was prepared for you, and we want to get many of you involved in the internet policy space. So but I hope that's I hope that's very helpful. But just please ask as many questions if you don't understand what these things are. And just try to attend as many things as possible, try to read, try to learn, and just find a way that you can continue to improve on your knowledge. So Innocent, I don't know if we should start the next session or if it's time for the tea break, or maybe we can divide people into groups and then go for the tea break. Please let me know.
Take a break for people to take some tea. So we should just make it maybe 20 minutes or a working breakfast. Yeah, we can do a working breakfast. So I'll just request that the remote participants hold on a bit. Maybe since we're doing a working breakfast, so we should be back in just within maybe 10 minutes or 15. So yeah, Sarah, we're going for breakfast. So we shall start from the next session in the next few minutes. Yeah, thank you. You can get guided by one of the team members to go and take break and yeah, catch some breakfast, and yeah, you can come back to your tables. Yeah, let's do that so fast. Let's not really waste time. I don't see people standing up. I don't know why, but
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I am Ajay Data, Chairman, Universal Acceptance Steering Group from India. I could not be present physically with you, but I am here virtually. Universal Acceptance Day is going to mark the world's largest multi-stakeholder event, probably, and going to create a history for all of us. You and me have joined up together to make this possible. Without us, this was not possible. What is UA Day? UA Day is going to create an awareness about universal acceptance, which will bring billions of people online. I am happy to share today we are holding 53 events across 42 countries. This is one of its kind initiative led by Universal Acceptance Steering Group. I congratulate you for holding this event in your region. This is going to mark a very, very special moment annually because we are going to celebrate UA Day on 28th of March every year and raise awareness globally. Why it is important? Important is universal acceptance of all domain names and all email addresses is not just one person's job. It is for everyone. It is for government, academia, technical community, software developers, business houses, almost everyone gets impacted and they need to do their task to ensure that almost 60% of the world's population which do not speak English as a first language able to adopt IDNs and EIs as good as we use our ASCII domain names. With these thoughts, I am going to leave all of you together to have a wonderful, wonderful deliberation, create an awareness in your region, ensure that stakeholders are fully motivated, charged to ensure that they have UA readiness in their systems. Government create policies, business houses make softwares, technical community support them to ensure that all softwares, all applications are UA ready. I wish you all the best to celebrate Universal Acceptance Day. Thank you very much.
The ability to fully communicate in your language and script is important, regardless of the medium. Many people around the world cannot experience the full benefits of the internet in their own language simply because they're unable to use a domain name or email address in their language and script of choice. This challenge can be solved. Universal acceptance ensures that all domain names and email addresses work in all software applications for today's internet users and the next billion that will be coming online in the coming years. ICANN.org and the ICANN community are committed to working with key stakeholders around the world to achieve universal acceptance. We hope you can join us. These are exciting times.
Universal acceptance is a priority for ICANN, not just in promoting awareness around the world and in the DNS industry, but internally as an organization. ICANN.org's engineering and IT team has been working to make our own internal systems and applications UA and EAI ready. We've updated many of our systems to accept, validate, process, store, and display non-ASCII characters and long and short TLDs and IDNs. We're currently working closely with our email security vendor to test and ensure that ICANN will be able to support EAI in the near future. By working to make our systems UA ready, ICANN.org is looking to set an example and provide insight to help other organizations achieve UA readiness. Learn how you can too. Thank you.
If you're a business leader, you should claim first mover advantage by updating your systems to be universal acceptance ready. Universal acceptance allows your customers anywhere around the world to use domain names or email addresses in their own native language or script. As more people come online from all corners of the globe, businesses that support internationalized domain names and email addresses can tap into unmet demand and capture new revenue streams from global customers. Is your business UA ready?
Are you sick of having issues with your webinars, wasting tons of time on troubleshooting with attendees? If so,
Интернационализированные доменные имена и адреса электронной почты позволяют государствам, бизнесу и различным организациям наладить взаимодействие с большим числом граждан, целевых аудиторий и пользователей на их родном или предпочитаемом языке. Однако для этого все ваши системы должны быть готовы к универсальному принятию, чтобы такие доменные имена и почтовые адреса работали во всех интернет-приложениях. Узнайте больше об универсальном принятии и получите возможность работать с большим числом людей.
Billions of people around the world live in countries that speak and write in many different languages. Email service providers can create a better experience for these users by incorporating systems that allow customers to use industrialized email addresses. Email address Interstitiation or EAI allows email addresses with either the domain name or mailbox name in different languages and scripts to work properly when sending and receiving emails. EAI has the power to bring billions online. Are your systems EAI ready?
بغض النظر عن اللغة التي يتحدث بها رواد شبكة الإنترنت حالياً أو مستقبلاً، يعد القبول العالمي Universal Acceptance جزءاً مهماً من شبكة الإنترنت التي تحوي العديد من اللغات على مستوى العالم Worldwide، حيث أن القبول العالمي Universal Acceptance يضمن لهم إمكانية تصفح الإنترنت والتواصل عبر الإنترنت باستخدام لغتهم المفضلة سواء في اسم دومين أو عنوان بريد إلكتروني. فمن الأدهى حالياً تثقيف وتعليم الجيل القادم من مطوري البرامج Software Developers and Software Programmers ومؤسسي الأنظمة لكيفية تطبيق القبول العالمي Universal Acceptance لضمان أنهم مجهزون للمساعدة في بناء شبكة إنترنت للجميع.
หากคุณเป็นผู้นำในภาคธุรกิจหรือหน่วยงานของรัฐคุณสามารถได้รับประโยชน์หรือสร้างความได้เปรียบด้วยการพัฒนาระบบของคุณให้พร้อมรองรับภาษาท้องถิ่นการยอมรับสากลหรือ Universal Acceptance ทำให้ผู้คนใช้ชื่อโดเมนหรือที่อยู่อีเมลในภาษาหรือสคริปต์ที่ตนเองต้องการได้เปิดโอกาสให้คุณเข้าถึงผู้คนในภูมิภาคของคุณได้มากขึ้นคุณพร้อมที่จะพัฒนาระบบให้รองรับภาษาท้องถิ่นแล้วหรือยัง
चाहे हम विश्व में कहीं भी हों, बहुभाषी इंटरनेट के लिए यूनिवर्सल एक्सेप्टेंस या सार्वभौमिक स्वीकृति पाना अत्यंत आवश्यक है। यूनिवर्सल एक्सेप्टेंस या सार्वभौमिक स्वीकृति के लिए तैयार बनकर न सिर्फ मौजूदा उपयोगकर्ताओं को मदद मिलेगी, बल्कि भविष्य में आने वाले करोड़ों ऑनलाइन उपयोगकर्ताओं के लिए भी इंटरनेट अधिक सुलभ और समावेशी बन सकेगा। यदि आप भी अपनी कंपनी को सार्वभौमिक स्वीकृति के लिए तैयार करना चाहते हैं, तो यूएसजी और उसके सारे स्थानीय कार्यालय आपकी मदद के लिए मौजूद हैं।
Gbe gbɔgbɔwo katã ƒe nyagbewo ŋɔŋlɔ bɔbɔe ɖe mɔ dzi hiã vevie hena ame biliɔn siwo gali la hehe va internet dzie. Degbe ŋɔŋlɔ bɔbɔe le mɔ dzi hiã ŋutɔ na amegbetɔ ƒomea katã le xexea me godoo. Vevietɔ internetzãlawo le Afrika. Srɔ̃ ale si nate ŋu akpɔ gome le nu sia.
La mayor parte de los próximos millones de personas que se conectarán a Internet viven en países que hablan idiomas distintos del inglés. Y eso, claro, incluye a los países de la región de América Latina y el Caribe, que hablan el francés, portugués, español y hasta las lenguas de los pueblos originarios. Lograr el acceso universal garantiza que todos tengan la capacidad de experimentar todo el poder social y económico de Internet utilizando el nombre de dominio y la dirección de correo electrónico que mejor se adapte a sus intereses, negocios, cultura y en sus propios caracteres. Hagamos la aceptación universal una realidad.
තීරණාත්මක සහ වැදගත් සෞඛ්‍ය සහ ආරක්ෂිත තොරතුරු බෙදා හැරීම, සංචාරක ව්‍යාපාර ප්‍රවර්ධනය හෝ අත්‍යවශ්‍ය සැපයීම් වේවා ශ්‍රී ලංකාවට වෙන් වූ ජාත්‍යන්තර වසම් නාම දෙක වන සිංහල සහ දෙමළ අක්ෂරයන්ගෙන් වෙන්වෙන්ව ලියවෙන .ලංකා සහ .ඉලංගේ ශ්‍රී ලංකා රජයට හෝ එහි ව්‍යාපාරයන්ට වැදගත් මෙවලක් වන අනුමානය විශ්ව සම්මුතිය මගින් ජාත්‍යන්තර වසම් නාමයන් සහ සිංහල සහ දෙමළ අක්ෂර භාවිතයෙන් ලියවෙන ඊමේල් ලිපිනයන් ඔබගේ පරිශීලකයන් සඳහා යථාර්ථයක් බවට පත්වෙනු ඇත. ඒ සඳහා අද සිට විශ්ව සම්මුතිය සඳහා සූදානම්ව ඉදිරියේදී පෙළ ගැසෙමු.
യൂണിവേഴ്സൽ ആക്സെപ്റ്റൻസ് അഥവാ സാർവത്രിക സ്വീകാര്യത എന്നത് ഒരു യഥാർത്ഥ ബഹുഭാഷാ ഇന്റർനെറ്റിനുള്ള അടിസ്ഥാന ആവശ്യകതയാണ്. കൂടാതെ ലോകമെമ്പാടുമുള്ള ഇപ്പോൾ ഇന്റർനെറ്റിൽ ഇല്ലാത്ത ആളുകളെ ഓൺലൈനിൽ കൊണ്ടുവരുന്നതിനുള്ള ഏറ്റവും പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട ഒരു സംവിധാനമാണ്. യൂണിവേഴ്സൽ ആക്സെപ്റ്റൻസ് വഴി വിവിധ ഭാഷകളിലും അക്ഷരമാലകളിലും സംസാരിക്കുകയും എഴുതുകയും ചെയ്യുന്ന ആൾക്കാർക്ക് ഇന്റർനെറ്റിലും അതുമായി ബന്ധപ്പെട്ട സേവനങ്ങളിലേക്കും എളുപ്പത്തിൽ പ്രവേശനം നേടാനാകും. സാർവത്രിക സ്വീകാര്യതയെക്കുറിച്ചും അത് നിങ്ങളുടെ സമൂഹത്തിനുണ്ടാക്കാൻ പറ്റുന്ന വ്യത്യാസത്തെക്കുറിച്ചും കൂടുതൽ അറിയുക. ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് എത്രയും കൂടുതൽ ആളുകൾ ഈ ജോലിയിൽ താല്പര്യമുള്ളവരും ഉപയോഗിക്കുന്നവരും ആണോ അത്രയും വേഗത്തിൽ യൂണിവേഴ്സൽ ആക്സെപ്റ്റൻസ് യാഥാർത്ഥ്യമാക്കാൻ കഴിയും. നന്ദി, നമസ്കാരം.
You may not know what SSL is, but hackers do, and they hate it. SSL helps protect your site
I'm Galila, Egypt. I am working for the telecom regulator of Egypt as the numbering planning manager and responsible for the operate CCTLD of Egypt. I have many positions within Universal Acceptance Steering Group. For me, universal acceptance is considered the life for someone who would like to access the internet using his or her own local language. A life for someone to be connected online. So if you are working for the government and want to have the governmental services to be accessed to all the citizens using their own local language. If you are academia and would like to have universal acceptance to be considered for the future trends to help the new user to be connected online, please go for adoption of universal acceptance.
My name is Christian. My name is Christian Dawson, and I am the executive director of an organization called the Internet Infrastructure Coalition. Universal acceptance is extremely important to us because we operate a lot of systems that run the internet. Universal acceptance is an outreach campaign to all of the people that build internet-connected systems, and what's super important about it is that to reach the promise of a multilingual internet, it doesn't just take the core domain name systems, the core systems that operate the naming and numbering systems of the internet. Everybody needs to update their systems to comply with their current standards. And that's the only way that we're going to reach the promise of a true multilingual internet.
My name is Lars Steffen. I'm Director International at ECO, Association of the Internet Industry, and for the first 2 years, I was the outreach coordinator of the Universal Acceptance Steering Group. So, how can you help to make a difference, and how can you help to make this internet more inclusive? Please join the Universal Acceptance Steering Group, its members and regional initiatives to participate in the mission to spread universal acceptance and make this internet a more inclusive space.
My name is Hadi Al-Minyawi. I'm with the at-large community. Universal acceptance is a universal approach that promotes one's identity and cultural diversity, allowing different people and different communities to access the internet in their own language. I hope you join me and members of the USG in making your systems UAE ready.